Hey guys, this is Jack from Jack's Garage. Today we're working on a little home improvement. We're going to be tearing out the fireplace and putting in a new one. Putting in some natural stone, ripping off the tile, putting a new mantle on with some reclaimed wood. It's going to turn out great. So we're going to get started doing a little bit of demo. Let's get started. Started off with covering the firebox to keep it safe. Don't want any chips from knocking this tile off to hit the front and damage it. It still looks like brand new. So I'm going to start off with these bottom tiles and trying to rip them up by just chipping them with the hammer and a chisel. So I got a couple different hammers, a mallet, and a couple different old chisels. We've demoed everything around the firebox, all of the tile, the sheetrock. We had to wear safety glasses. It really splatters. There's a lot of little chips with the tile. We've demoed all of the tile off the hearth. We've stripped all the sheetrock there, and we're about to take off the mantle. So you really, if you're saving your sheetrock on the sides, score it with a razor blade so that when it peels off, it'll not come off with it. And just in case we get carried away. Some kind of rounded edge for this thing.
I need to solder it.
Oh boy. First thing. Here goes. Ready? It's coming your way, Mama.
Hey,
yeah.
I put the TV on there too.
Yeah, we're going in. Looks like the mantle's all 2x wrapped in sheetrock with some kind of capped ends. Somebody's got his little hard hat on. Just keep on stripping off all the sheetrock and then we'll dismantle the wood mantle. I got the mantle removed. It was compiled of a 2x12, a 2x6, and a 2x4, and I just used a crowbar and peeled them all off. You can see on the corner really did some damage to the drywall there, so we'll have to do a patch. And then I did the same thing over here on the left side. So now we're going to score this, score the other side of the sheetrock, rip out this old piece, and then take off the crown molding. I've started removing all the supports for the hearth to get this top piece off. The block that we've picked, the top of the hearth, is going to be level with this. So I'm going to put the concrete board on top. I'm going to put the rock on top of that so it's perfectly level with this. So we need this to drop down about 2 inches. Last night we removed every piece of sheetrock, cleaned up all around the bottom of the fireplace so that we can replace everything with concrete board. Also, we're going to shrink the size of the box up at the top above the mantle to be able to accommodate for 2 receptacles for the HDMI, the plug, and a cable plug. So also we're going to have the recessed mount up there. So this all is going to get reconfigured and we'll start that in a few minutes. There was a piece that went across the front of the hearth that I had to pull off. Looked like they used an air gun and just blew up nails in here. There was probably about 5 in this one, there was 10 in this one, and probably 10 in this one. So I cut them off with the Sawzall because they all come from the top. Well, it made it dip down here. So what I did was come up with some 4x4s that we're going to support the front with, and then I'll screw some screws into this because now it's all going to be level. And then we'll toenail these into the bottom to support them to that bottom plate. Alright, I got most of the box built. I've got these little kickers on 16-inch centers. I had to use some new wood. The other ones had so many nails in them. I kind of reused some of these and shortened it up just a little bit because our concrete block is 2 inches deep. So it's going to have to sit up or sit down a little lower. So I had to chop them off, but was able to reuse some of them. So here's our piece. Got it level between the top. Had to cut in a new angle here. But we're almost finished with this, and then we're going to sheathe the top with the plywood and the concrete board. Last night I finished wrapping the hearth. Got the plywood and the concrete board wrapped on. I came up higher with this edge because of our overhang for the top piece. We'll trim these up, and then this is how the stone will sit on the front. So that top hearth will hang over about 2 to 3 inches. Today we're working on boxing out the top for the mount for the TV, and then I'll reinforce the back for the mantle, and then I've also cut out these squares to put in a patch for the drywall from where the old mantle went in. It was all jagged, so I thought it'd be easier for me to patch the square with easy edges. So we decided to make a couple mock-ups for the TV and the mantle. So we laid it out, measured it the exact size that it needed to be, and then hung it up to the heights that we thought. So our old one, you can see where the drywall is cut out. It's about the exact same height. So we measured off the top, and we had about 10 inches, and our overall mantle height was around 6 inches. So we cut the mantle out 6 inches, and then kind of deciding what we'd sit up here. Let's say we had some stockings hanging off here, we had some candles. Would it be blocking the view of the TV? So to figure out what the exact height of the TV we wanted, we measured that up about 6 inches also. And then we cut the exact size out of our TV, and that's what we've got. So now we know exactly where our center will go just based off of our little mock-up. This is the recessed area where we're going to mount our TV. So I've got the blocking on where we're actually going to attach the mount. So this is going to attach like this, and it's an articulating mount, so it'll actually be able to come in and out. And then I'm going to mount the boxes right below that for HDMI and then cable and power. So it should be right behind, and we'll attach like Velcro so when it comes out you won't notice the cords. So the spacing from here comes down to the blocking for the mantle. So I finished up all that. I'm going to put the receptacles in, and then I'm going to sheathe this with sheetrock. Got the piece of drywall in, started to put the concrete board on. I got an extra reinforcement here just in case for the weight of the mount. I've started to hang these pieces. I've only got one screw up there, kind of temporarily put it up, and it's just hanging here. And then I got a little short pencil so I can cut out this exactly. So I'm just scribing the inside of the concrete board to go take it outside to cut out this shape. The cuts came out pretty good. I'm going to get a piece of sheetrock and box this out, and then fill in this piece and then make a little access door so I can go back and finish up the electrical. So once we spray this with the texture and remud it and paint it all, I'll just put these covers on and it'll all be finished. We're at the stage where I've finished the sheetrock on all 3 patches. I've got our little cubby done and sanded. I've got the little piece here completed, and I've got that side piece completed. Now we're going to use the Pro Grade knockdown. So it's pretty easy to use. You just spray it on there kind of heavily, coat the whole area, and then you just use, I use 2 different trowels. They actually make a knockdown one that has a foam backing, and so you let it sit on there for about a minute and then you drag it down. So I'm going to spray a little test pattern on here to make sure that the pattern's correct, and then we'll get started. So the knob will adjust, it says from fine to thick. So I'm going to let that sit up for a minute or so. I've got everything taped off so I don't get anything on the blinds. I don't want anything to get on our concrete board or on the receptacles. Receptacles can be easily wiped off. So for me it's a little flat right there, so I'm going to spray it with a little more. I want it to match this, so put it on there a little bit thicker. I went ahead and sprayed the inside of the little cubby. It's going to be hidden, but I want the texture to match the finished product of what our walls look like. Finished up all of the painting. Now I'm going to start caulking. All of the cracks along the concrete board to the drywall, I'm going to fill up with some concrete caulk. This morning, I've rerouted the power to wire these up. We've got our HDMIs and cable, got the power on, we've checked that. So once everything was verified, I buttoned up the little cubby that we had gone back in, our tunnel, and then I've caulked the edges up, and now I'm about to bed all of the joints. So it's just a mesh tape that has a sticky on the other side, and then we'll put all of that up, and then I'll use the trowel and put grout over the top of that. But I'm going to do every one of the joints. We also fired up the fireplace to make sure it still worked, just because we had to stand on the back and got it all over it. So we wanted to make sure that it still functioned before I had buttoned up the little tunnel we made. Smooth it out. Everything's taped, and now I'm going to put the mud on. Just going to put a thin coat over the top. This is the piece of wood that we picked out from the local reclaimed wood store. Came out with the unbelievable finish from maybe a 100-year-old barn. It's got a lot of pitting on the front from some kind of woodworm. Looks fantastic. We actually did the finish ourselves. We used a Varathane Ultimate Polyurethane and put about 2 to 3 coats on it, and it made it really smooth, where before you kind of would get splinters when you put your hand over it. So it came out really smooth. It looks shiny. Great finish that will protect for a long time. When we got it from the we picked it out from the reclaimed wood store, the reclaimed wood store wanted almost 5 times the amount of this piece of wood just to finish it. And that's no sanding. That's only wire brushing it, digging out the dirt, and then putting their urethane, some 5-in-1 coat on it. So we decided to do it ourselves, and I think it came out wonderful. The other thing we did is when we budgeted for a mount, I wasn't exactly sure how we were going to hang it, but the woodworker there, or the master woodworker, he actually makes a dado on the back side of the wood to hang it. And it looks like this. It's kind of a 3x3, got the curved ends. So what we're going to do is find the center of the fireplace, find the center of this wood piece, and then we'll line that up. We'll have about 5 anchors on it. I'm going to drill them down just to kind of pilot hole them, get them through, and then we'll mount it on, level it up, and mount the actual mantle. Then to final anchor it, the rock that we've chosen is actually going to overlap about 2 inches on the top of this. So we're going to anchor in a couple wood screws on the top so that it'll hold it onto the wall. I've got the 2 end wood screws in. I've got the 3 others staged and ready to go. I've got a little paddle bit on here where I'm just breaking the surface of the concrete board. Just popping it through there. So when I get this wood screw in, we've already kind of passed there, and now I'll just tap it in, and then I just sink it, and then set her in. Got the mantle hung. It slid on really easy. There's 5 screws on the top to hold it in place, and it's on there real secure. I don't think I'd sit on the top of it, but definitely is going to be held up by a good chunk of wood. Now we'll get started on placing the rock on the bottom part of the fireplace and then working our way up. Here's the stone that we purchased. It's an Eldorado stone. The style is a bluffstone and the color is Prescott. It actually gets dry stacked, so we'll grout the wall, we'll grout the back of each one of the stones and then place them on as tight as we can. So no grout in between, and it's just really dry packed. So we're going to have to pick out the sizes and shapes that kind of match up as close as we can, actually slide them together and get them to match up, and then stack them throughout the entire fireplace. Last night we finished up all of the rock for the hearth. I think it came out looking fantastic. We measured the top hearth pieces just to overlap the bottom rock, so that if you were to sit on the edge, you're not whacking any of the rock or getting hung up on it. So we've got that. Every one of the pieces are cut now. Now I'm about to cut the angle in the corner to set that stone, and then we'll work our way out with making each one of these stones the exact same size. So trimming off the edges to make them so they're 20 inches now. They'll probably be down to 15 or 18 inches to make them all uniform to fit and to look the exact same. Then we've got a grout that's almost the exact same color to put in between the joints to make it match also. I cut the corner piece. I'm now raised it up with one piece of block to be able to get the angle on the opposing piece. So now I'll just get a pencil, mark the line here, and then we'll go out and cut it. But I don't want to have these rough edges, so we're going to measure out what the size of this piece is and then match it all the way down with the exact same measurement, just so it's uniform across. So we just have one odd piece and then one. All of these should match in the exact same consistent measurement.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Just finished up setting all the hearthstone. Got our angles cut, we've got them all, the grout lines matched up, all are spaced out fine. So now what I did was take a 2x4 to make sure that it looked like we had a little bit of slope coming down on this one. So I added a little bit extra grout on the end. And when I pull it out to the end to see the same thing, that it stays pretty level all the way across. So then it keeps it uniform and looks great. The grout we got to fill in the joints on the stone is an earth tone. So same with these, they're an earth tone. We thought it would match well. So what I'm doing now is actually stuffing the joints with the grout, kind of packing them down in there, and just trying to get as much as I can down, and then I'll tool the joint just with my finger and wipe off the surface to fill it. This is where our corner is too, just kind of working it into the bottom and the side there. We've got the hearth protected, we've got it all grouted up and set. So now we're about to go with our courses going vertical here, and then we're going to put our soldier course in and do kind of a vertical run all under the mantle. The tools that I've been using are this triangular trowel. Makes it real easy for picking it up off the side of the bucket. When it's really full, you can get it out, smear it on, flip it over and smear it on the walls. We also use this really large notch trowel, the square one, to make our pattern on the wall when you're sticking your stone on. And then I use this really small one to dig at the bottom of the bucket. So we have to get out those last little bits. We can smear it on the side and then get our triangular one to get it on the wall. Also, what I'd really recommend is instead of just using your shovel to mix it up in the bucket, getting one of these. I've had it for a couple years, it's almost on its last leg, but it makes it really good for when you're stirring it up. The grout that we've been using is this MVIS veneer mortar. Really easy to mix. It's a pretty great product. So working my way up to about here, and then we'll start working on the soldiers. It's actually just like putting a puzzle together. I kind of dry fit the pieces on there, and then slap a little bit of mortar on the back. Looks like I'm going to have to get some more. It's drying out a little bit. Pop the piece on. Just kind of flip it back and forth. I just finished up wrapping this entire corner, kind of weaving the pieces in and out so it makes a good curve here. And then we had gotten all the soldiers done this week, and the vertical over there. We've wrapped up all of our mantle, and now I'm about to start on all of the rock going up to the ceiling. We've made it up above the mantle. Got about a foot up to the bottom of where our TV will mount. I've set up the baker scaffold to have it easier access to work on the higher areas, and then we'll just adjust it as we get all the way up to the top. So one little tip I would tell you is that what I've been doing is just measuring out what size I need once I'm up on this baker scaffold, because you have to keep on hopping up and down. So you find a piece, you're looking at it about 12 inches, and you're going to want something with a little divot in there. So then when you'll try to remember that, so when you go down, you just pick up a bunch of pieces that are around 12 inches, and then you just kind of fit them in there. So what I've been doing is just taking some random pieces to see if they'll actually fill those gaps up, and then if they do, we'll go with them. Just finished up all of the stone. At the top where the crown molding comes together, I had a scab on a little piece on this side so it kind of matches up. I put a little mud on there, and I'll just sand that over the next couple days, and then we'll paint it. And then on the other side, it came out perfect, and we just have to do some touch-up paint there and some touch-up paint on the ceiling where the nails went through. So whenever I'd wipe off the grout, the water would kind of loosen up the little divots in there for the ceiling. So I'll have to do a little bit of touch-up there. But all the stone is completed. Now I'm about to put the mount on. I had actually done a markup of every single space so I know where that wood blocking is from where the TV will be. So I'll just measure up, do a little math on there, and now we'll get ready to start mounting that. Finished up last night. Got the TV mounted, everything works, the cable works, the HDMIs. Unwrapped the mantle, unwrapped the hearth. It's still a little bit dusty, but it came out looking great. Still a little bit of little shavings of rock and a little bit of dust. The whole place got dusted up just from demoing the sheetrock, but we're pretty pleased with it. It took about 3 weekends, had a couple late nights, getting everything mounted. We stayed up real late to get the TV mounted, but I'm really happy with what it looks like. So I think anybody could do it themselves. Just got to have some time and a little bit of creativity on putting the rocks together. But it's a project that we are very happy with. So thanks for tuning in, and tune in next time.